Hi guys, welcome to Brains on the Beat. If you're new here, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're oldie but goodie, thank you for staying tuned to your girl. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about this story about a man that raped his stepdaughter, which resulted in a child, and that child was also raped by him. This story is really crazy, and the fact that they reduced his sentence shows how much Jamaica judicial system is not about protecting women and children. So let's get into this story. It says the Clarendon man who was in 2015 sentenced to life at hard labor for incest with his teenage daughter, who ironically was the child of his stepdaughter, whom he had impregnated years before, on Friday has had his sentence reduced by the Court of Appeals to 15 years imprisonment at hard labor in a new turn of events. According to details unveiled before the court, the child had been left with her grandmother, the man's mother, because her mother had gone overseas. The fact that this lady left in Pitney with the grandmother alone is a cause of concern, because my Pitney, if I'm going to keep that child, won't have anything to do with him. Nobody in a female side of family. And people are going to say that's wrong, but I don't care. The good have to suffer for the bad sometime in order for me to protect my child. But anyways, he, however, took her to live with him so as to have access to her. The child, in her testimony, told the court that her father at first rubbed himself on her but did not go further. In a later incident, he, however, called her to his sleeping area and told her to undress and had intercourse with her, after which he threatened to kill her if she told anyone. She reported the matter to a guidance counselor at her school, which led to his arrest and charge for indecent assault and incest. Shockingly, during the trial for the offenses against his child, her mother testified that he had been her own stepfather and had sexually and physically abused her when she was a child. His method of operation with her was the same as with her daughter, the court was told. That sexual abuse resulted in a pregnancy and the birth of the same daughter he was convicted of molesting. The woman's story was confirmed by DNA testing, which was carried out as a part of the investigation into the teenager's complaint. Both mother and child testified that he would beat them when they were under his control. Despite the fact that the events with the mother had taken place before, he was convicted of 2 counts of carnal abuse in respect of those events and was sentenced to 4 years imprisonment. So the 4 years when they get before did not do anything for him. He was serving those sentences when he was being tried for the offenses against his own daughter. Following that trial, the father, who had changed his initial from not guilty to guilty, was sentenced to imprisonment for life at hard labor and ordered to serve 15 years before becoming eligible for parole. The fact that he's actually even eligible for parole or eligible to come out of prison is a problem. He was also sentenced to 5 years imprisonment at hard labor for the indecent assault charge. The convicted father, who then appealed the sentences, lost his bid in respect of those sentenced for indecent assault, but was allowed to appeal in respect of the offense of incest. Lawyers argued that the judge had erred in failing to identify the normal range of sentences for incest and an appropriate starting point within the range for the convicted father. They further argued that the judge had placed too much focus on the aggravating factors in the case and failed to pay enough regard to factors such as his guilty plea, which resulted in him not receiving a fair sentence. They also contended that the judge erred in imprisoning a sentence that was manifestly excessive. The fact that there are lawyers in Jamaica who would appeal for this man to come out of jail is crazy to me. He is proven a predator. He raped his stepdaughter, got her pregnant, and the stepdaughter kept the child, and he raped that child, the child which was his flesh and blood. This man is a predator. Okay, he preys on women and children. Why do you think he needs to be anywhere close in society, in close proximity to other women and children? And they gave him enough time in jail for him to come out and do the same thing. Some of their lawyer deemed for dead and dash way, honestly. In the judgment handed down on Friday, the appeal court, in pointing out the Section 7(4) of the Sexual Offense Act, stipulates that the maximum sentence for incest is imprisonment for life. Said the judge did not specifically indicate any reason for starting at the maximum sentence and had therefore erred in this regard. The court, in noting that the sentencing guidelines stipulates that the usual starting point is 7 years imprisonment, and said this, however, would not be appropriate starting point for him since he knew the child was born out of sexual abuse of his stepdaughter, and the fact that he met out the same type of physical abuse to her as he did to her mother is a basis for a higher starting point. Possible to imagine worst case scenarios. His case is therefore not the worst of the worst and does not deserve a starting point of life imprisonment. If this is not the worst of the worst, I would love to hear what the worst of the worst is. I guess the worst of the worst entail him not only raping the mom but also raping the child and then murdering them and kill them. I guess that's the worst of the worst. I would love for somebody that actually reduced his sentence to come in the public and explain what the worst of the worst case scenario as far as rape and incest is concerned in Jamaica. And this is why a lot of Jamaicans' laws need to be changed. Okay, Jamaican women and children are not protected in the judicial system in Jamaica. There's so many cuts and corners and ways to get around the judicial system as far as women and children are concerned is crazy to me. Okay, these laws on these books and the amount of female politicians and legislators in Gordon House constantly, and they're not doing anything to change laws like this is crazy. Okay, crazy. And the only reason why a lot of these laws have not been changed is because a lot of these laws affect poorer Jamaicans. A lot of the people and politicians and legislators that are in Gordon House, these things don't affect them, so they don't see the need as to why they should step in and change these laws. But once it touches them, they will want to actually change them. An appropriate starting point would be 12 years, the appeal court said, in agreeing that the learned judge did impose a sentence that was manifestly excessive, and ruled that the sentence imposed by the learned judge for the offenses of incest to be set aside and a sentence of 15 years imprisonment at hard labor is substituted. The sentence is to be reckoned as having commenced on the 2nd of June 2015 and is to run concurrently with other sentence imposed on or before the 22nd of June 2015, the court concluded. And the whole running concurrently BS for me is crazy. A lot of these cases, these should not be running concurrently. And what run, for example, you get a assault charge for 2 years, then you get a murder charge for 4 years. When they run concurrently, it's going to be 4 years you're doing in jail, pretty much. The 2 years for assault and then the 4 years. And because they're running concurrently, that means you're only going to be doing 4 years. For all those don't understand that what concurrently mean. The court, however, noted that the act at the time was relatively new, and the learned judge was figuratively breaking new ground with the sentence that she was tasked to impose. She did, however, err in using the maximum sentence as a starting point of exercise, and coincidentally, the court was entitled to reconsider the sentence, it said. I would love to know what the maximum, when a judge can use the maximum life imprisonment for rape and incest in Jamaica. Because I thought that when you're a judge, it's up to you as a judge to use your discretion to sentence somebody. And if a judge feels like a man that raped his stepdaughter and also raped his daughter that came from an abusive relationship should actually be put for life imprisonment. I thought that was what a judge is supposed to do. Sentence people at their discretion. That's why they go to school and that's why they learn the laws. But I guess that's not the case in Jamaica. And these things are crazy. crazy. And the lawyer will get him appeal. I hope you rot in hell. Okay? Rot in hell. And if not rot in hell, something happened to one of your family member just like this. Okay? Because this is crazy that somebody in their right mind would want a man like this to come out of jail. But anyways, like, comment, share, subscribe. Leave your comments in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Deuces.